I would just say this: keep connecting.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to just reach across the aisle, whether virtually or physically, but that doesn't necessarily touch doesn't always mean connection. Connection of the mind, the heart, and the soul. So keep
Yes.
connecting genuinely and authentically.
I
Connect.
love that. I love that. Keep connecting and connect with someone else today.
Unleash your potential with MetaMindStream, disrupting possibilities. Dive into the fusion of positive neuroscience and business strategies with Anne Scottlin and Dr. Lyman Montgomery. Break free from limiting beliefs, expand extraordinary lives, and boost business profitability.
Welcome back. So happy to have you here today. Welcome back to MetaMindStream, where we're disrupting what's possible, which means we are calling the impossible possible. We are finding all of the excuses that we make in everyday life because things just are the way they are. And we're taking life meta, aren't we, Dr. Lyman Montgomery?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're
Let's
taking
get rid of
life
those
meta.
excuses. Yes.
Absolutely. I have an extra sexy voice today because I lost my voice a few days ago. So I'm just going to work it. If I cough, you'll know why. Anyhow, so welcome back. This is a feature of our business where we are partners, Focused MetaMindset. And the purpose of our business is profitability simplified. We help individuals and businesses and corporations find profitability and simplify it through the tools of neuroscience and
Absolutely.
actionable business strategies that match up with neuroscience, which is, it's not only useful and practical, but it's just fun. Absolutely
So
fun.
true. I'm cracking
So,
up because your voice.
yeah. Oh, I know. It's going to be
It's
so
kind of
fun.
cool. It's kind of cool. It's like you're in one of those.
I was talking to someone
Very.
the other day, last night, and they're like, "You sound like a frog." I was like, "Thank you."
No,
Um,
you kind of remind me of like one of those commercials where they're trying to sell like perfume.
oh,
Try,
right.
Anne Scott.
My name is Anne Scottlin. Oh, I can't do it when I
There you
try.
go.
Okay,
Ah.
here we go. So our show, guys, thank you so much for joining us here again today. This is really candid and provocative conversations. Our show is not rated, although we keep it clean. We also talk about taboo topics and talk about a lot of insights around business, finances, and interpersonal things in life, and how your meta mindset can take you to new and different places. Today, we're going to talk about, in our business segment, connecting to customers and clients. People pay millions and millions of dollars to find out some of the simplest strategies that we're going to talk about today of how to really deeply connect to customers and clients. We have often made it so complicated, haven't we, Lyman, that
I
people
agree.
don't even know what to expect anymore.
One of the things when you were talking, I was thinking about connection, right? Everyone wants to feel a sense of connection. And depending on whom you're talking about, we're not talking about thieves, we're not talking about mobile devices. We're talking about people actually sitting across the room, sitting across the table, and connecting. Because a lot of times people are like, well, I connect with 4,000 people a day. No. We're talking about personally connecting with them.
Or virtually, because I'm
Or
connecting with you right
virtually, that's
now.
true. You can do it virtually.
Sexy voice, but virtually.
Yes.
No, it's true. Really connecting. And I think the so much of that is, so much of business and sales becomes a game of manipulation and who can outsmart
Mm,
the other, as opposed to going back to, even what we might consider old fashioned, connecting
yes.
to another person just because they're a person and they're unique and they're interesting and they have their own sets of personality, their own sets of wins and problems, and like just being interested, genuinely interested in people,
Hmm.
is such an important part of staying connected and being connected. So
Absolutely.
today we're going to talk more about, in a moment here, about clear communication, both amongst your team members and also especially with customers and clients, because this can really streamline your processes. It can reduce errors and ultimately is leading to increased profitability. So Lyman, I was wondering, um, what is a scenario that you might want to share around uh, when empathy with customers and clients isn't really working, when you you're trying so hard and there's still some disconnect? I'm sure you've experienced that
Absolutely. I
so much.
remember several years ago, I had a client. That's kind of funny when I think about it, who was a hairstylist. And she was a fantastic hairstylist. Raised three young men, two young men and a daughter, excuse me, single mom. But her dream had always been to be a attorney. And what happens with a lot of people, she had these dreams. She got a scholarship to go off to college, but it required a $129 application fee.
Mm.
Everything paid for. She didn't have the $129. She went to her mom and she said, Mom, I got accepted into this great school. Everything's paid for except the $129 application fee. The mother said, You'll never make it. No one in our family ever graduated. Just be happy to graduate from high school.
Mm.
Killed her. Fast forward 30 years later, she's working as a hairstylist, three kids she's trying to raise, but that dream, I met her at a conference I was speaking at, and I talked about it's not over until you decide it's over. She came up to me and she said, wow, I was inspired by what you said, and she began to tell me about her dream. I began to work with her, Anne, and I gave her a simple instruction, which I'm going to share later. But fast forward, she is a practicing attorney today. And she went back to school, got an associate's, her bachelor's, and went to law school in her 40s. And now she's a practicing attorney. And I'll share later about the strategies that I gave her to help her switch from I can't to I can.
I can't to I can. I love that so much. And connecting our customers and clients is such a big part of that. So it starts in our own mindset, meta mindset, right? Which is where your belief system is about what you can
Yes,
and can't do. You think. This is why we talk about disrupting what's possible, because what we think is possible will be the limit of our possibilities until we are able to
absolutely.
adjust that dial.
Think about the stuff we say. First of all, you got three kids. All right. You're a single mom. You're not making that much money. They need you. They're teenager. Oh, by the way, her brother was killed.
Oh,
Okay. And she's talking about going back to school. Can you imagine the negativity she had to overcome? But the good news is she didn't have to do it alone.
mm,
So what I would say to a lot of you, stop trying to do it by yourself. That's why you need to partner with someone that have already blazed the trail. Stop trying to do it alone. And again, we talk about empathy. I had to empathize with that. My mom, she reminded me of my mom. My mom went back to school when she had 4 kids. And I remember as a young boy watching my mother walk across the stage to get her degree as an adult. And that did something. First, and I said, if mom could do it, then there's no excuse. Sometimes all you need is a pattern, Ann.
yeah. Yeah. No, it's amazing. A pattern, and we're creating a pattern. One of the
Yes,
things I love, and I'm not going to deviate too far here, but is that we create patterns in our own families and in our own history. People who have taken a stand to do things differently in our family heritage have changed what we believe is possible.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
she's saying such a great example for her kids, for example, this client that we worked with. So what you can do is it's not just for you, but it's for them.
Yes.
And today, really, the meta mindset technique we want to talk about with this in building empathy and connecting to others. Um, you know, if you visualize yourself walking in someone else's shoes and find their points of resistance, we often realize what we can do to relate to them better. Give us a
Mhm.
few examples of that.
Yeah, great example would be, for example, if you can visually see yourself where they're at. Now, you might say, well, how can I do that? I mean, if it's a female client or a woman client, how can I put myself in their shoes? It's all about being able to use empathy. And I know that that is a forgotten word these days, where as people, they want to, hustle and bustle and fight and clamor each other to get to the top. But no, it's all about being able, can you relate? Can you build rapport with that other individual? And that's what the key is, building a connection or building a rapport through the things we have in common. Now, we may disagree on a lot of things, and too often we highlight the items or the issues that we disagree. But the key is, can we find common ground? What do we agree? Even within the disagreement, there can be agreement. An example of that.
Yeah.
Yes. I was going to say
No,
an
please.
example is like you and I. We may disagree on food. You may say, Lyman, you don't need to eat that. It's not healthy. I may disagree that living a vegan lifestyle is torturous. But the common ground is, how do we eat healthy?
Yes, exactly. No, this is really good. And this is what we were talking about in our last episode, is we don't all have to be in agreement. I think this has become a theme of this show. We don't always have to be in agreement as long as we're in alignment.
Yes.
So it's, if you have someone who is, resisting a sale or resisting your efforts to give them better customer service because they had a complaint, how can we kind of like step into their shoes? What does it mean to go meta? What are we doing differently in our heads than the next person?
Absolutely. Part of that connection and being able to empathize or understand is asking yourself two questions. The first question is what they're feeling real or imagined? Is it reasonable to feel this way? For example, if you were to survey 100 people and you say, I want you to jump off of this cliff and believe that this little cord wrapped around your leg is going to save you, called bungee jumping, how many out of that 100 would say, sure, no problem, here we go? So a person might feel resistance because you're asking them to do something that they've never done before. So the response or the resistance is natural. The same resistance that you had the first time you probably rode a bike, the first time you probably flown on an airplane or took a trip over the Atlantic or the Pacific, and said, oh my God, there's all this water. Okay. I remember the first time I took an international flight, I was like, are we there yet? And it was a long 16-hour flight going to, I was on my way to Turkey, 16-hour flight to Turkey to speak. And I was like feeling like, oh my God, what if? So many thoughts, but I had to realize something. Lyman, it's okay. You're not the only one that's feeling this. The second question, Anne, that you ask yourself is this. Is it okay for me to vent? Is it okay? Because sometimes you need to get away, express the behavior, the emotion, and then say, oh, I got that out the way. Now I'm coming back. Good example. Let's say I'm feeling anxiety and I'm feeling tense. I may need to go outside and just go, whew, got that out. I have to release that energy, but do it in a constructive way. I wouldn't, advise doing it in front of people, but sometimes you need that release. And then you're like, okay, let me come back.
Oh, this is good. This is good. And despite my voice, I'm going to jump in here because I think oftentimes we have such a sanitized way of doing business. And as a teacher and a coach, both of us, we know what it's like to give people an invitation to get comfortable.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if you have someone who is really resisting or really upset, instead of making them hold it together, it might be like, listen, I hear your general issue, what's been going on. I'd like you to give you this opportunity to really vent, to just let me have it, because you know what? I can handle it and I already have solutions, but I feel like we need to get this out of your system. So I'm going to set a 2-minute timer here. And I'm like, just tell me everything you think.
That's the key in. And you know what's important? I use this with my clients. We use it with our clients. And here's the funny thing about it. For so long, they've been told, keep it together, hold those emotions, and all they're doing is suppressing it. And it becomes like a pressure cooker. They will
Makes you
explode.
madder.
What we're saying is no, that anger, that emotion needs to be released. Let's do it in a constructive way so you don't blow up the place, figuratively speaking, and sometimes literally, okay, but also that it's done in a way that we can take it. I remember we had a client once and she was upset. Remember, she was dealing with a product that's coming onto the market and she lost her vendor. And she was so upset. In our client in San Diego, we said, go ahead, let it out. It's okay. I don't care if it's profanity. You have to get that out, because once you get that negative emotion out, guess what happens? It's like a rain cloud begins to dissipate and you can see clear. Why? Because you're not fogged with all that. Why did this happen? I don't understand. Get it out. Because so long we've been told, as a woman, don't let them see you sweat. Oh, women are supposed to be emotional, but as a man, men don't cry. Bull wacky. You better cry.
I love this. And I think asking intelligent questions to people without getting weird, it's like, so I realize,
sorry,
we can do to help solve your problem. But oh yeah, sorry. Everybody good? We had some tech issues this morning where basically the wind of change blew through and knocked our equipment over. So, but asking people like, how does it make you feel? Not like a therapist. You're not supposed to be their therapist, but you can say, I'm sure this is so frustrating you. What has been the most frustrating thing about? No one ever asks that. Everyone always says, oh, here, let me fix it. Here's a solution. Here's a solution. Well, guess what? You can offer me 100 solutions, but if I still don't feel like I've been heard, and we're going to talk about this in just a minute, because we're about to move into the lifestyle section here in a minute or two.
Yes, Anne.
We're going to talk about things like real life home relationships and being heard, and the importance of letting people know you hear them, letting people know that they can express themselves in a safe and timely way, and that you can be not in agreement, but you can be in alignment.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Anne, as you were talking, why do you feel that we've bought into this program? That's what it really is, programming, that we have to be like cool cucumbers, like an iceberg. No one sees any emotion. We're like stoic. Where does that come from? And people are dropping dead due to stress-related illnesses because they have all this pent-up anxiety. We saw it during the pandemic. We saw it during the election, that now people are saying, how do I get this out of me before I go crazy?
It's called, programming. It's called domestication. It's called sanitizing society so that everything is nice and shiny, which means it's pretend. It's fear of missing out. See, I can't even think. FOMI. FOMO. Fear of missing out.
FOMO.
It's all of those things where we all pretend everything is, as my grandpa used to say, hunky-dory. Like we always used to pretend like we're great, everything's amazing. But the fact is, it isn't really true. And I think that we are faced every day with an onslaught of just advertising alone. Because it's not just on TV. It's on the billboards. It's on social media. It's at the bank. I'm so offended now when I go to get gas and it's peaceful and the birds are singing and it has a TV screen and they start yelling at me and giving me advertisements. And I'm like,
I just want to pump my gas.
I just want to have a moment's peace. But all of this is always the shiniest, happiest people. Everything is always shiny and happy. And what I think is so incredible about going meta, having a meta mindset, is really empathizing in a new and different level. Many of us who've been in business for a long time, we've had training and understanding and listening and empathizing. But this is different because this is permission for you to be yourself right now
Yes.
and for me to truly hear you.
And
You
that
don't
is
have to impress me. You can fall apart if you like. You can yell if you want. You can cry if you want. And I'm not going to hold that against you as being unprofessional. In 5 minutes, when we're done, we're going to take a deep breath and then we're going to look at the proactive side of things. But let's give each other permission to be real.
And isn't that the essence of disrupting what's possible? Because what's possible is, wait a minute, the old paradigm has to shift. And a friend of mine said it literally has to die to be reborn. Because if we continue doing what we've always done, we will always get with interest what we've always gotten. I know it's not good English, but it makes sense.
I love it. It's perfect. It's perfect. So I love that. And let's switch over now into we're going to take a really quick break so that we can reset here, make sure our stuff isn't still blowing over. We're going to reset, and right after this commercial, we'll be back, and we're going to jump into our favorite segment even, which is about applying meta mindset in life and especially around empathy. We'll be right back.
Unleash the power of strategic neuroscience with Focused MetaMindset Inc. Boost your decision-making, sales, sustainable growth, and customer engagement. Scan the QR code now for an exclusive consultation. Elevate your profitability with Focused MetaMindset Inc.
Welcome back to MetaMindStream with Dr. Lyman Montgomery and myself, Anne Scottlin. We're talking today about business and life and how empathy with those around us can go a long way. Taking it meta, doing things in a way that other people say isn't possible. Oh, if you're not nice about it, it's not good business. Well, there's a time and place for everything. What about when you have to let your client just let out their frustration?
Yes.
Instead of trying to just put stickers on it and cover it up. It's like a dam, and there's like the guy tries to plug the hole in the dam with all these different, little straws and it kind of holds it back. And then eventually it all blows up. You could lose the deal trying to be nice. So what about giving people permission for a specific amount of time or space to really express themselves? And now we're going to talk about what this looks like in our everyday lives, not just business. Oh gosh, I know there's going to be so many fun examples here. Absolutely. So one of the things that we often talk about is how do we empathize when we're having communication challenges? Let's just go straight to it and say at home or with a significant other.
Absolutely.
Right?
I give you one that just happened the other day. As I shared before, the show, had some car issues. Practically is 4 years old, but has some wobbliness. Guess that's the word. Some wobble in the stern wheel.
Love that word.
Yeah, the stern was kind of wobbly. So I was looking online for something. My wife came in and she asked me a simple question, and I was kind of short with her because I was busy. I was frustrated. And she responded in kind. And I said, "Why are you raising your voice at me?" And she said, "No, you raised your voice at me." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry." But, we kind of laughed about it and moved on. But that could have been a situation that could have been escalated, blown out. But she understood that I was frustrated because we were planning this big trip. And I'm like, "Oh, why would the car break down?" The car knew we were supposed to go somewhere. But we got 4 cars, so we can take the other one. What's the mere fact of a car breaking down? But that's an example of having to empathize and say, okay, and vice versa. She's like, okay, I know my husband is frustrated. We planned this trip and everything. So now, what's plan B? Well, and she was real good because I got one estimate I told you that was insane from the dealer. And she jumped in. She sent me a text. She's like, "Hey, same tires, 50% cheaper, and that included alignment and everything else." And again, she could have been mad at me. He raised his voice at me. I ain't helping. Figure it out yourself. But she had empathy.
Right. Well, she has empathy. She's feeling how you feel because it might not. What's important to you isn't always important to her. and
Absolutely.
vice versa. Again, you can be in alignment without necessarily having to be in agreement as to what the outcome should be. Another thing I like to always tell when I'm working with my clients, whether they're business or just we're just out in everyday life, which is when you're talking about creating empathy with other people in your sphere,
Yes.
one of the best tools I know of is having a sense of humor, bringing humor to the subject. Because sometimes, I mean, my husband and I, we have this sort of adorable way of like bickering. It's not fighting. It's not even really arguing. It's more like, well, yes, but I remember I said this. Well, remember I said that. And we have this way of integrating how much we appreciate each other into these conversations, to the point where our friends all, if you guys would just tape your kitchen conversations, you could make $1 million on a show, because it's hilarious. Because you intersperse the challenges with what you like and love about the person, and you mean it. I appreciate you so much, honey. You do so much work for around the house, and you're such a great dog dad, and you made such an amazing dinner last night, and just the fact that you've let the dishes pile up to this extent, it really shouldn't bother me, and I'm really working on it. That's actually authentic, because I'm not being passive aggressive. He knows the pile of dishes in the sink is like, Mount Everest is bothering me. But I'm also saying, maxed out, you do a lot of work. I appreciate what you do. And you can tell I'm bothered right now, but I'm also working on me.
Yes.
Like, I'm working to not be as reactive, right? So let's both give each other permission to be imperfect. But let's also bring positive affirmation and gratitude to it, not fake. Tell it, smell it a mile away. It can't be like,
Absolutely.
You're the most amazing person in the whole world, even if you think they are, right? It has to be, like, I so appreciated what you did XYZ for me yesterday. And I know that sometimes I whine and complain. Like right now, I just lost my patience around the dishes. But honestly, I would not want to live with any other human being. I'm so glad that we do, because we get along and we know how to love each other's problems as well as each other's strengths, right?
And that's the key.
That's
Loving
going
the
meta,
problem.
go beyond.
Yes, going beyond just the surface stuff. My wife and I, we have very intentional conversations, and but here's the thing: our viewing of programs, as far as television programs, is totally different. I am a binge watcher. If I start a series, I don't care if it's like 10 seasons, I will stay with that for a month till I get through it. My wife, she'll watch 2, maybe 3, and go on to another one. Watched one, I was boring, moved to the other one. I'm like, but aren't you curious about what happened? Nah, not worried about it.
Oh yeah, no,
But again,
agreed.
Here's the fix. I remember one time I said, well, honey, we want to watch TV. So we agree that we're not series person together. So we'll watch a movie together as long as it's under 2 hours. Okay. And it's before 9 o'clock. Because after that, she's going to bed. All right. But the alignment is, she know I like series, right? I like action. She's not. You got to have a love story. I watch it for 1 or 2 hours. Then I got to go see some action. But again,
I'm with you.
bond, but she will watch an action movie with me for about an hour. If it's not too violent and too many, road rage, driving crazy. And then she'll go watch. She'll say, okay, I need some happy time. All right.
Right.
But again, we are connecting, but we don't agree on our movie choices. But that's okay.
Yes. So you don't always have to be in agreement, but you can be in alignment. So giving people permission to own their own space is really helpful, whether it's your client, whether it's a family member. Giving them permission to be who they are. We're all such different personalities, and you and I know that in Focused MetaMindset in our company, we do analysis of personalities for teams and how to build the perfect team that's balanced. But everyone has to, I have said, if there was no other little tiny piece of wisdom that I've ever said to anyone in my life, it would be the same old thing I say every single week. There's 2 sides to every coin. You get a super mega achiever they're going to have an opposite, like they get impatient easily.
Mm-hmm.
You have someone who knows how to make money out their ears. You got to be patient with them. They may know strategy, but they may be terrible with timekeeping. You have to know that everyone's going to have those pros and cons, those strengths. So if you give them permission to have their say, to let it out once in a while, and just readjust. Like, I know pretty soon, again, the sense of humor can come back into it. Frank, I know you're going to have to sit there and tell us for 5 minutes why this is a terrible idea in this meeting. So why don't you just go ahead? Let's do it now. Go, Frank, go. Like, make it fun. And then he's like, you're like, okay, well, thank you for sharing. Mm-hmm. Recap what he said.
Absolutely.
You have been heard.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to share a different opinion, but find ways. It doesn't have to be so damn serious.
Yeah. And I love that. I love what you said. Sometimes you find the person who's very time conscious, make them the timekeeper. They will love you. What? I'm in charge of the watch. Yes. Woo. You have someone who's negative, make them your QA person. You say, listen, Tom, going back to your Tom person, tell me everything that's wrong and why it won't work, but then tell me what we need to do to make it work. So you don't get off the hook by just telling me what's wrong. But now you got to tell me, how would it work?
Exactly.
Now they begin to tap into the other side of their brain, because right now they're just on one side. But now you switch them to the other side and say, okay, you pointed out the gaps, what's wrong, what will not work, why it will not work, what won't work. Now tell me the solution. And by the way,
absolutely,
3 minutes or less.
In 3 minutes or less. Oh my goodness, this went so fast today, and we're going to have to wrap it up. But I'm just so excited you all have joined us again on episode 3. We are up and rolling. We are so excited. If you could see the stuff we have coming up for you, you would already be just jumping up and down. We're going to have so much fun coming on to the next episode, number 4. So always streaming live on Tuesdays. Please check us out on whatever platform you're watching, whether it's been live or if it's been pre-recorded. Please please subscribe, please share. We're a family. We're a global family. Let's go meta together. Let's make life more possible in positive ways so that we can use tools and techniques from neuroscience to make the bottom line better and to make life easier. What could possibly be better than that? And check us out, as you've seen streaming here on our website, focusedmetamindset.com. We do all kinds of education, speaking, coaching, and consulting. So for whatever level you're looking at to take your business or team to the next level, to improve mindset and performance, check us out. We always have something there for you. Our email there is also as well, or you can message us directly on the site. And again, that's Focused with ED. If you're just listening and not watching, Focused MetaMindset.com. Any closing thoughts, Lyman?
I would just say this: keep connecting.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to just reach across the aisle, whether virtually or physically, but that doesn't necessarily, touch doesn't always mean connection. Connection of the mind, the heart, and the soul. So keep connecting, genuinely and authentically. Connect.
I love that. I love that. Keep connecting and connect with someone else today. Share our episode, forward them the link, and just share so we can enjoy this conversation together. We would love to hear your comments, your questions, your topic suggestions, and we can't wait to get even more engaged with you as we go forward. Thank you so much for being with us here today, and from Dr. Lyman Montgomery and myself. Be well, and you don't always have to be in agreement, but find the alignment.
Yes, absolutely. Well said.
See you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Unleash the power of Focused MetaMindset lunch and learn sessions. Sharpen problem-solving skills, spark innovation, foster collaboration, and build adaptability and resilience. Elevate your team's success and profits. Discover more at www.focusedmetamindset.com.